Happy Libra season. Yes, okay. I didn't I didn't copy and paste the stream key thing or whatever today because I assumed I was still that it was still on here from this channel, and it was. So, excuse me. Hey everybody. How's y'all Libra season starting? Mine is off to a really interesting start. I had a really good dream last night. Or this morning. Like a really good dream. And I don't know if it's that Venusian Libra influence on me. Ace. Okay. Ace of Pentacles, Six of Pentacles. I'm a huge fan of that energy, and I shouldn't have to tell nobody why. Um, why my laptop all of a sudden want to start making noises? Hello. But yeah, and then so I've been feeling. I feel like I'm getting some kind of emotional sensitivity or something, like an increased emotional sensitivity, and I don't know if it's like because I guess I do remember a while ago saying that like empathy would be connecting to something else. Well, I know what else that could be connected to, and it's a space that I still haven't fully dived into because I don't know. I like pulling cards for people because when I pull cards for people, I ain't got to be all the way in their energy. And uh, anyway, I've been having this emotional sensitivity lately where it's like I'll feel some not great feelings before the situation happens. And it's almost like it gives me time to emotionally prepare for it or to mentally prepare to not be overcome by the emotions in that moment so that I can make a choice or decision that more aligns to where I want to go. And so I've been feeling like kind of like I've been having this plan about going to visit some people that I ain't seen in a long time, and I was really excited to do it. But for some reason, in the past few days, it's just like not been feeling right. And I've been talking to my mom about it, and she was like, "Well, you should trust it." And so I decided to trust it, and then I get on Twitter later in the day. I get so many like little things on Twitter. And somebody had liked or retweeted something that was like basically like if something doesn't feel right about a situation, listen to your intuition. And I was like, "Okay, yeah. Is this destiny? Oh no, it's the promise. Ooh, Six of Pentacles, Ace of Pentacles, the promise. We'll see what that's about. I don't know how long I'm gonna be on today. I don't think I want to end it on this. I just want to do whatever. Oh, okay, all right. Well, let's see. Ooh, do it. Okay, all right, all right, all right. Ooh. Bottom of the deck is the Ace of Pentacles with the Page of Pentacles right behind it. It's the beginning of something beautiful. Page of Pentacles at the bottom over here. At the bottom over here is oneness. Okay. Divine Masculine, balance, and patience. All right. So, anyway, I get a call today, and it was just like all the way not right. And I was like, okay, yeah. So, like, now I'm feeling better about deciding to not necessarily spend a whole bunch of time because I don't know where people are right now and how people have been processing and handling everything going down in the world. And I know how I've been processing and handling it. I know how my family's been processing and handling it. And the space that we've been in is probably not the space that a lot of people have been in. And so I've been fairly comfortable at home and I haven't had too much of whatever to take me out of the space that I'm creating and cultivating for myself. And I don't know if I necessarily want to go into an unknown space and have to potentially be dealing with all kinds of stuff. And like when you ain't seen somebody in a minute, of course, it's really easy to be like, oh yeah, like I've been excited and blah 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 blah. But the reality of everything that's happening, it's like, okay, well maybe we should wait until things settle down because I don't know, something just ain't sitting right about this with me no more. And the phone call this morning, it was just like, okay, yeah. Yes. Okay, thank you. And my mom was like, well, you should already know that blah, 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 blah. I said, yeah. Well, first I was like, excuse me? And then I was like, okay, yeah. And then I was like, well, that's just, I don't know. I ain't in the space to put up with it right now. I'm like, I'll pass. We'll wait until things clear up. So I don't think I'm going to be doing that anymore, which is fine. It's just not the time. But I had this dream last night that I was stuck in a situation with me and my two brothers who I've been talking about, the one that I protect and the one that annoys me. And he annoys me because in dreams he like 9 times out of 10 he makes things worse. And I'm like, oh my gosh, please stop. But that's him in real life too. It's just like I'll be over here trying to maintain some kind of peace, and he'd be over there causing trouble. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then he'll be like, you ain't got to listen to Patrick. You don't have to listen to Patrick. You can do whatever you want to do. And then, of course, I'm like, don't nobody got to listen to me. But it's like when people start listening to him, things get more worse. I'm sorry. Anyway, so, like, I didn't have a car. I don't have a license right now because because my license, the state that my license was issued in is different than the state that I was living in, and then I got an ID in the state that I was living in, and I didn't even think about getting a license. I just needed an ID, so I got the ID, and when I got my ID, I had to turn over my license, and they were like, "Oh, well, you can't get an ID and a license in the same day." I was like, "Okay," and I don't really drive anymore either. And it's like I could drive in case of emergency, but I probably shouldn't be driving. I remember one day, one of my friends was like, "Hey, I know it's like 3 in the morning, literally 3 o'clock in the morning, but I need you to take my car and follow me because I have to drop this car off." I'm like, "Dude, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I can barely see at night." And he was like, "Oh, it'll be fine. There'll be nobody on the road." Thankfully, we were okay. But anyway, someone who I haven't seen in a long time popped up in a helicopter. I was like, "Oh snap! Okay, so um, I got my brothers in the helicopter first, and then I got in the helicopter, and it was I don't know. I was like, "Hey, thanks for like helping me out because I didn't know how I was gonna get us out of this situation." And I've never really thought about him like that, like that, like that. But something about him in that dream just made me look at him in not a completely different type of way, but I'm just like, "Oh, you are kind of cute." And then, so of course, I check him out on Facebook. I see what he's been up to, and it's interesting because a few weeks ago, my dad brought him up, and I was like, "What? I didn't know he was doing that." He was like, "Yeah." And then I think a few weeks before that, like for some reason, I've known this man since we were children. We've been going to church together, or we like were raised basically in the same church, so I've known him forever. And his family has always been crazy about me. Like both of his parents, all of his brothers. And I've never quite fully understood it, but it's an interesting feeling. And his family didn't show up in the dream. So in the dream we're in the helicopter and he's like, "Oh, like here's these mountains that no one's ever like people rarely see." And so he's like showing me the mountains. And it's like my brothers were still in the helicopter, I'm sure, but that in that part of the dream they just disappeared. It was just me and him in the helicopter. And he was like, "Oh yeah, like let me show you this and let me show you that." And I was like, very I can show you the world type of energy. And I'm like, "Oh wow." And then he was like, "Here's this thing that I do sometimes when I'm pretending like I don't know what to do." Right? And so there was this mountainous enclosure type of area. So we fly into it, and he was like, "Oh my gosh!" But then we do this loop where, and it's kind of what I was talking about with the leaf caught in the eddy, and how you can like use the eddy to elevate yourself above whatever the limitation is, instead of just like staying stuck down here or like flying smack into a wall. It's like you can use the eddy until you clear it, and then you can fly above. And that's basically what he did. He like flew around the mountain, the inside of the curve, and kept going higher, and then we cleared it. And I was like, oh snap. And then I wake up, and that's when I thought about like, I was like, huh. Low key, there's like one or two other people who I'll feel like nothing for. See him in a dream and then be like, this person is kind of cute. And then I thought about like how crazy about me his family is. And I was like, you know what? I do kind of want I would love that. I would love to be with someone whose family also likes me, whose friends like me, and I like them, because like the way that family the way that I've experienced family growing up is that the spouses of people in the family basically integrate into the family. And they integrate into the family to the point where even if their relationship doesn't work, they're still a part of the family. And I don't know, that's how I view family. I wasn't raised on step brothers or half brothers or in laws. It's all family. And once it's family, it's family. And I don't know, maybe that's one of the things coming for me. And also there it is someone who I feel like, I don't know, lifts me up and motivates me and elevates me, and someone who I can go on a journey with, someone who I can like depend and rely on, where I don't have to feel like I'm doing everything by myself, or I don't have to feel like I can't trust someone to help me with something, because I can be really delicate, especially when I'm in those moments. It's like I'm either like extremely delicate or very durable. And I'm pretty durable for the most part. But when I have those moments, I don't really trust a lot of people to handle me in the way that I know I need to be handled, which is that patience, it's tender, it's everything else. But I was able to rely on it. And like I didn't even have to ask for him to show up. I'm in a situation where I don't know what to do. All of a sudden there's like this, it's like a, the bat signal, but it was on the ground. And I was like, oh, that's like it looked like an H for a helicopter pad or whatever. I was like, oh, and I was like, oh, that's the helicopter. Okay, well, let me get my brothers and go outside. And then it was him. I was like, oh, wow, like I didn't even have to ask, and somebody was there to help me. I'm just like, okay, this is the energy that I can appreciate this. And then I had another dream where I was going somewhere and talking about, there was this one dude who I have had a crush on. He's a Taurus. I'm like, okay. And it's also interesting because um, last night I watched something, and they were talking about a fire sign like Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, and I'm over here like Aries. I've done an Aries, I've done a Leo, I've done a Sagittarius. There's only 3 people who I've physically engaged and interacted with. One was an Aries, one was a Leo, one was a Sagittarius. The Leo was the best, and I'd say that like the Sagittarius and the Aries can tie for last place, even though the Sagittarius was a better experience than the Aries, but neither experience was enjoyable at all. But the one with the Leo was very. And I was like, I had more of a relationship with the Leo, and I'm someone who's very relationship based. Um, but anyway, this dude is an Aries. I was like, okay, Aries coming through for a redemption. All right, I'm down. I'm down. My Venus is an Aries. Why not? But then I saw that other dude, and he was just looking so handsome. I was like, oh snap, he's a Taurus, and he gives really good hugs too. Like, I don't really have a type per se, but if I had to have a type, someone who gives really good hugs, assuming that they'd also be good at cuddling if they give good hugs. Someone who is like patient and compassionate and understanding, or at the very least tries to be. And that's pretty much it. I have more like of an emotional. It's like I do experience physical attraction, but I don't put anything into physical attraction, right? It's like models are a dime a dozen. Uh, what is conventionally attractive people, like especially after I went to college, I was like, oh, okay, so if someone's attractive, like that's not special. There's a whole bunch of attractive people out there, and there's nothing there besides surface level attraction. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm over that. I don't know. It's like it's cute in the moment or whatever, but there's no substance there. There's nothing to build with. I don't know, double Taurus, double Capricorn, right? I want to pour into something and then it build something. I'm ready to invest. I'm ready to go all in. And I'm not interested in situations, jobs where I have to compromise or like not be too much. It's like if it's too much, it's too much, and that's fine. I'll just go somewhere where, it's just right. Anyway, I don't know why I had that dream last night, but again, I'll take away the takeaway. And it makes me excited. And then I went back to sleep, and then I wake up to a missed call. Oh, snap, I had another missed call that I forgot to return. Sorry. I'll have to give her a call back. And then it was that, and I'm like, yeah, see, I know I'm just waking up, but this is the reason why I've been feeling like, hey, I know it's been a while, and I know you want to catch up and you want to visit with some people, but it's that time. We're living in. I mean, it's always like you never know what people are going through, but especially now where a whole lot of people are going through stuff, it's like let me stay in this bubble of peace that I've cultivated that radiates. I mean, it ain't just me, but it's what I put out, and it that's what I'm attracting alignment towards. Like even when I go to the stores, like I still see friendly people, you know, and I know that there have been people who've been like not friendly, especially in the beginning, but I never had that experience because I'm not aligning to that side of the pole. And if it don't sit right, it don't sit right. And that's something that I guess I've had an opportunity to really learn is the emotions and the feelings and the thoughts precede the event. And so I don't know. But let's get into the promise. I got 3 cards and it got a little, well, I got like 4, but so the promise is number 38. It's soulmates, attraction, and partnership. I will take all of that, please, and thank you. So in the space of soulmates, look at that! Look at that! Is that the 4 of Wands in the space of soulmates? Okay, I'll take it. This is the card that was actually on the floor. It's like a little bent up now. Oh my gosh. On attraction is the Ace of Pentacles, which I was talking about wanting to build and invest with somebody. And then on the space of partnership, oh, it's actually 3 cards. Oh, wow. The Star, the Moon, and Strength. Oh, the Star, the Moon, and Strength. To me, the Star, the Moon, and Strength is like having the courage and the wisdom, honestly, but we'll say the courage to see through times of darkness and uncertainty to the light that pulls you. And I was thinking earlier today about, because I said it on, I think the Legacy channel, maybe yesterday or the day before, um, that when we're running, no, it was the day before yesterday, I believe. No, it was actually before that. It's whenever the Hermit came out first, and I had to like read through it twice. When we run from the light, we're running further into the darkness. And I was thinking about that earlier today. When we run from the light, we're running further into darkness. When we run from the things that we feel guided towards and led towards, when we run from the things that grow us, that require us to handle and address the things within us that we need to handle and address, we go further into the darkness. So we go further into an area where there's less clarity and less potential for something positive or amazing to happen. Because it's like we're being called out of the dark, out of our comfort zone for a reason. But with the strength card, it's seeing it through because of the voice that comes with the star. And true kind of love has just been like in my head. Steven Universe the movie. Hey, speaking of the person that I needed to call back, here she is. Oh yeah. One second. Hey, I feel like I'm getting decently good at like I don't know. I think maybe I'm just getting more sensitive to some stuff. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not gonna question it too much, but it is. I do like it because it gives me an opportunity to prepare for things, even when I don't necessarily know WTF I'm preparing for. Especially when it's like heavy emotions, I'm like, oh my gosh, why am I feeling like this? And then the situation happens. I'm like, oh, okay, well, thank you for the exposure, because now I can make a decision that aligns with me and not one based in whatever I'm trying to do. All right, so let's get into this. And again, this ain't gonna be where I end it, but I do love this for the dream. But it is Libra season, you know. It's time for like partnerships and stuff and stuff. That's what Libra's all about. But like balanced ones, you know. Not everyone is necessarily going to be balanced if we're unbalanced, but I've been working fairly hard to achieve and maintain a sense of balance. Well, I have been working hard, but if I think back on it, I think I've noticed I'm the type of person who can't remember pain. And so, like, if I go to the doctor and they ask me, like, oh, how have you been? And if I'm like, well, I was experiencing like this pain like a few weeks ago, and then like, oh, like, well, where was it and how much did it hurt? Or honestly, like, I don't even think about it in the moment because I'm not going through the pain. But then when I leave, I was like, oh, I was experiencing like, you know, a little bit of a pain like a few weeks ago. I don't remember. And I was talking to one of my friends a few weeks ago, I think, and she asked me a question of like, I think she asked me like what ascension symptoms I was experiencing. And I was like, well, right now, like, I'm not really experiencing anything. I know I just was experiencing some stuff, but I can't even remember. Cause, and then I told her, like, I'm the type of person that, like, I don't remember the pain. Like, I can't tell you how much it hurt when it doesn't hurt anymore, cause I forgot. And she was like, oh, that's interesting, cause, like, I know somebody else like that. I was like, okay, so it's not just me, it is a thing. But I think also on this journey, unless the emotions come up or unless I like focus on those parts in particular, I think sometimes I do kind of sort of have a tendency to minimize things, not only because I realize the purpose behind why all of it happened, or I can, from the space that I'm in now, appreciate that it happened for the growth that it resulted in. But also at the same time, like if I'm not actively in it, sometimes it just doesn't even cross my mind. And I've always been like that. Also, I'm very pain averse. So that probably also helps. I ain't trying to do something if it's gonna hurt. Unless it's gonna hurt for a reason, right? It took me forever to get my ears pierced. I went to Claire's with my best friend on a day where our lab was canceled. And she was like, we went to the mall and we walked by Claire's and I was like, oh, I can get my ears pierced. And she was so tired. Every time we went to the mall, I would say that, but I would never get them pierced. She was like, "Okay, well, you're doing it today." I said, "What?" She was like, "Yep, you're getting them pierced today." And of course, I was excited, but I was also a little bit afraid. And she's a Sagittarius, and I was also thinking about last night, like Sagittarius energy that has water in them. Then, like, I love that. Because I think with Sagittarius, sometimes what I don't necessarily like is that I feel like they can be, or the energy can be a little too focused on the philosophy or the big picture. And it doesn't always take the human element into account. And I know sometimes, especially, it might seem like that's a little hypocritical, but that's something that I do at least try to do. Always accommodate for the human element. And sometimes the human element, like, it always validates things because emotions are always valid, but regardless of how valid the emotion is, it's like yes, it's valid, but like, is this a space that you want to stay in? The reason why you feel this way is valid. The reason how and why you ended up in this space is valid because of where you've come from, but is this where you want to stay? And if this is where you want to stay, that's fine, but this is not somewhere that I'm going to stay. So I'm going to move on, and then you can stay here, and it's a win-win, and we both happy. But anyway, she's a Sagittarius, and she actually toned me down a lot. I used to be even more extra, and she was like, "You're doing too much." And she's like, "Stop, stop, you're doing too much." And I'm like, "Okay." And it wasn't necessarily her changing me. Um, it's interesting though because I feel like part of me did tone down a little bit, but another part of her just like accepted it. And so now sometimes we can both be a little extra. I'm like, yes. But she balances me in a lot of ways, and I love it. And she also encourages me to do things that I would never do, and that was one of them. So I went to Claire's, got my ears pierced. They had a little teddy bear in a tutu. I held on to it, and I got them both pierced that day. And then I went back. I was in RA at the time, and people were like, "Oh my gosh!" I didn't tell my mom about it for a minute, and then we had a family function. It was somebody's birthday party, or maybe one of my cousins had a thing because she had completed her master's degree. I don't remember. And I showed up for the first time with my ears pierced, and nobody said nothing really. And that was the first time I was older than 21, so I got to drink with some of my older cousins. And one of my favorite things to do after I turned 21, well, I didn't start drinking until like I was a week. It was like a week before I turned 22. So, let's be a little bit more honest here. Um, but I didn't really see anybody after I turned 21. So I was like 22, 23, 24 when I got the opportunity to like go to some family stuff because I would work on campus over the summer, so I didn't go home too often. And one of my favorite things to do was get free drinks because I'm like, oh, it's not like, hey cousin, like we haven't had a drink together, like let's go get a drink, and then they pay for it. I'm like, yes. Anyway, I'm sorry. Back to this. I'm all over the place today, but we will end with something. I don't know. I think this might just turn into a little vloggy, ranty type of channel for the moment being. And I don't know. It's a space where I can feel comfortable about the space that I'm in on the Legacy channel. Because it's like, I know that not everyone is in the same space, and that's fine. But I also don't feel like I should have to diminish the space that I'm in or how good I feel because I have been doing the work on me. And I have been doing my best to consistently show up in every moment. And it hasn't been easy, but it has become my new default. So since it is my new default, it's a lot easier to me than it would have been in the past. But anyway, so the promise. This image is connected with the scarlet pink color ray. The promise resonates to the magic of love and soul to soul connectivity. This ray encompasses the highest levels of love that stretch the bounds of purity and divine love. At this high frequency of love, there exist the exalted versions of honor and connection, and the highest achievements of service are activated and carried forth into the expanses of time and space. Oh, wow. You have attracted someone, or soon will be, who is very special to you, and they will impact you in a dramatic way. Now is the time for you to truly love yourself, fully and completely, from the highest levels of honor and purity, so you can prepare for the expansive love upgrade. A love relationship may also require your attention. This is also foretelling of good fortune for a successful business partnership aimed at the highest levels of spiritual service. The companion crystals are diamond and rhodochrosite or rhodochrosite, I don't know. And Bulgarian rose is the companion essential oil. And I love that because, I mean, I have been aligning to that. And it has been this journey since basically March. And I've talked about it a fair amount of like learning what self love is, what it means, and how it interacts with other relationships. Excuse me. And there has been, and I don't know. I've talked about it a little bit. I still can't believe the Four of Wands, Ace of Pentacles, the Star, the Moon, and the Sun. Hey, this is lit, lit, lit. Um, I think I've talked about it, but not. But like there is, oh, well, there's the Eight of Swords, but the Strength card. Hey, free your mind, and the rest will follow. Ain't that what they said? Who is that? In Vogue? I think that's In Vogue or On Vogue. I don't know how to pronounce it. Oh, with the Nine of Cups and Strength now. Okay, yep, 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 yep. Okay, that's delicious. What do backpack say? Yum 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 yum. Delicioso. I'm sorry, but I'm not. I'm just feeling good, and I ain't got time to feel nothing but good. And so I do love the people, but I'm just not. Three of Swords and the Three of Wands. It's like it's time to move beyond that. The Three of Wands is interesting because sometimes it's waiting for your ships to come in. Sometimes it's the space, almost like the Keeper. Like the Fool would be the Two of Wands, the Keeper would be the Three of Wands. So it's an area that we've already been in, that we have exposure to, but it's time for us to go further. We're not all the way there, and that's why after the three, you get the four, which is the celebration of that milestone. So it's like the three is halfway between the two and the four. Like you've started, you're halfway on your journey. Don't give up now. Keep going. The end is nigh. The light is in at the corner of your horizon or something. You're almost at least to the first major breaking point. And then you can 5 and 6 celebrate, and then you can 7, 8 really take off, and then you can 9, 10 leave it all behind. But 10 is where we shed the weight of the whole journey, and we start over, right? And we start a new chapter. Because that's the thing about desires, is that people like will always have desires. Always. We'll always want something more. And so the key is to be appreciative of what you have while you go about life. And they do say that like when you appreciate what you have, then the universe gives you more things to appreciate, and when you're in a space of lack, then you'll attract more lack. But sometimes it honestly, well, that is the point. But it's like it's all mental. Really. It's like if you didn't have enough when you had this, you probably still will feel like you won't have enough when you have this or this or this or that, and it never matters how much you have if you never feel like you have enough. It speaks of a void within us that we're not addressing or filling or attempting to fill even sometimes. And it's like, or attempting to fill in a substantial way. Maybe we're attempting to fill it in superficial ways. But again, the more you run from the light, the further into the darkness you go. Angelic assistance and sanctuary. Ooh, okay. But when you can appreciate and be happy with who you are, where you are, and when you can love yourself fully, then it's like you already have it. So of course you would get more of it. It's just like how getting stuff doesn't fill the void of lack. Getting stuff or not getting stuff doesn't deplete from the fountain of self-love and appreciation and joy. And it is a gradual process. It's something that happens incrementally, and something that our environment can encourage in us if we're willing to let it do that. Or it's something that our environment, like, it can negatively reinforce some things as well. Bottom of the deck is that sanctuary, and what came out is exploration. So let's explore exploration. I think exploration is limitless, bold, and unknown, or boldness, limitless, and unknown. Oh, look at the star that just wanted to come out again. Hey. Cosmic Girl by Jamiroquai. I think that's how you pronounce it. Just popped into my mind. I think it might be one of the... Ooh, Six of Swords. It's fabulous. I think it might be one of the edits of it, though. It's like, she's just a cosmic girl from another galaxy. My heart's in zero gravity. Yeah. She's cosmic. I don't know. Ooh, Will of the Year, but... Oh, snap. Oh, Seven of Swords. No, where did it go? The Will of the Year came out, and then the Four of Wands was at the bottom of the deck. But it was with a whole bunch of cards, so I was like, yeah, no, we ain't doing all that. Ain't doing all that. Okay, sure. Transmitting on your frequency. My heart's in zero gravity. A heart in zero gravity. It's light as a feather. Nothing will weigh it down. Light as a feather. I don't know. It's like sometimes I feel like we've gotten really good at creating the spiritual practice, and for doing all of these things that kind of sort of bypass the most direct, the most permanent, the most powerful and impactful solutions. It's this energy of not scapegoating, but it's like not bypassing. It's like improper delegation of something, like not taking accountability or responsibility. It's pushing something off on something or somebody else that we need to do for ourselves, because when we do it ourselves, like, if life is about learning and growing and evolving, then the more you handle within yourself, then the further you'll go. And it's not that things outside of us can't assist us, but they should be used for assistance, right? And it just reminds me of, like, it doesn't matter how many times you go to a Reiki master, or how much heart chakra meditation music, or how many spiritual baths or cord cuttings or whatever you do, if you never address the issues that keep your heart closed off in the first place, it's just going to close back up. It's not solving the problem, it's like band-aiding. And that's the hard work. No one wants to do that. In the beginning, at the very least, no one wants to do that. But I don't know. I'd rather solve the problem and not have to keep worrying about it, especially with the space that I've come into. But it was the space that I was more or less forced into because of the darkness of the night I went through. I was like, oh yeah, no, we ain't doing this. Five of Pentacles. Wow. Okay. I saw the Death card, but it didn't come out. Oh, the Nine of Swords. I was thinking about that. Okay, yeah, that's another card I was thinking about earlier today. Bottom of the deck is the World card, so it is a time of completing. In the completion of this, it's fearlessly bold. Oh, I did not know it was that many cards. So we'll put this one here, and then these will just lie at the four corners of the world, since the World card came out, and then the one in the middle, that's S or whatever. What was I saying? I was thinking about the Nine of Swords earlier, thinking about the 7-8 dance, and the Nine of Swords is that moment when we more or less decide that we're going to face it, that we're not going to run from it anymore, that we're going to take the blindfold off. And it's like, if you don't take the blindfold off, then how are you ever to really experience the Nine of Swords to then put it to bed at the 10? If you keep the blindfold on, it'll just like continue to plague you. And it's one of those things that we really don't have to do, or we really don't have to continue to do. But again, in the human experience, it's so understandable why we seek out the things that numb us to the pain, because who wants to feel pain? Right. Besides the masochists out there. But then again, a lot of times that's in a different context. That's a pain that they agree to. It's a conversation. Hopefully, most of the time. Hopefully. Right. And they're not just out there, whatever. Um, but exploration, let's get into it. Where's the book? What number is exploration? Exploration is number 15. Number 15. I did want to do a weekly release on the Legacy channel, but I'm just like, yeah, no, I don't know. Anything over there that should be released. It's like I feel like a lot of us, so much of us, it's like we already know, or we're already in the process of knowing, or we're already exposed to what it is that we need to do. Because it's what we want to do most right now. But it's also very difficult. And I was watching one of my new buddies, and he did an equinox reading, and he was like, in the next 3 months, a whole bunch of people are really going to begin experiencing shadow work. And there's a lot of people who have never done any like actual shadow work because we always numb, or we distance, or we distract ourselves. Substances, relationships, money, anything. Shopping, video games, sleeping, anything to distract ourselves. And I've been saying for a while that I feel like it's really going to hit the point where we're going to know that we are the only things keeping ourselves in these situations. And it's like I've said, I don't want people to have to feel like that, because it feels extremely heavy. And that's why I try to encourage people to, when something comes up in your day-to-day life, handle it. Because if you do it a little bit, like little by little, day by day, as long as it's a consistent effort, Knight of Pentacles, you'll eventually get there. But then when you're put in a situation, in a space where it all comes crashing down at once because you want to pretend like it's not happening, it's like, at least with the tower, like the whole tower doesn't go down all at once. Or it isn't like, a city full of skyscrapers where every single skyscraper goes down at the same time. But when you ignore it, that's what happens. And I don't know, it's really like, and I feel like it's been basically since January where I've really begun to notice it. It seems like whenever someone's like, "Oh, I don't know what to do. Like, what should I do? Like, what do I need to be doing right now?" And then I talk to them a little bit, or like if I do pull a card or something, it seems like 7 to 9 times out of 10, it's something that they were already feeling led to do, something that they already knew that they should be doing, but they weren't doing. And I don't know. It's like the time for not doing the things that you know you should be doing. It's coming to a close. Just the hardest part a lot of times is starting. So just, I don't know, take the lead. It's better to exit the tower before, or the city before the whole city comes down. And then how many times did I talk about Sodom and Gomorrah? I mean, it's like when those towers fall down, don't look back. Boldness, limitless, boldness, unknown, and limitless. So I got them right. I just had the order mixed up. This image is connected with the deep magenta white color ray. Exploration resonates to that of mystery and exploration. This magical ray engages the soul's desire for experiencing new states of being. It helps the soul pursue unrealized dreams and goals, activates innovative ideas and inventions, and initiates the soul's motivational purpose. And I love that because that to me feels like the Star, the Moon, and the Strength card that came out at the end of the Promise. So I'll read that one more thing. This magical ray engages the soul's desire for experiencing new states of being. It helps the soul pursue unrealized dreams and goals, activates innovative ideas and inventions, and initiates the soul's motivational purpose. The number of mystical and fantastical doorways and portals in deep space stretch the imagination to new limits. This mind-bending ray helps with expansion of the mind, body, and soul to assimilate with the vast unknowns and integrate the sense of adventure within our hearts. The oracle interpretation is: do not limit your thinking right now. You must be willing to be open to new experiences, as the sky is the limit for you right now. Unexpected situations and new discoveries may occur soon, so be ready. Although the unknown may be scary, it will lead you to greater good. Trust in moving forward. The companion crystals are smoky quartz and sugilite. The companion essential oil is Dorado Azul. And then here's the Nine of Swords and the Five of Pentacles. It's like, what if it doesn't work out? What if I go off into the unknown and I'm just floating in space forever? That's where your root comes into play. And I would say be careful of what you are mentally, emotionally, and spiritually attached, anchored, and rooted to. Right? And it's not that like we're not supposed to have fear, but strength, the major arcana. Oh, well, there's the Magician. I didn't mean to look at it yet, but exploration, bold, limitless, unknown, Magician. It's like that's the space that our manifestations come from. A lot of times we're wishing for things that we don't have, so it's not coming from places that we've been to, from people that we know, from experiences that we've had, unless they've also gone through a fairly significant amount of transformation. It's unknown. And you can't run from the light and expect anything but darkness, really. So, when it comes to boldness, we have the Five of Swords fighting it. It's like fighting the progress, fighting the expansion. It's not choosing your battles wisely. It's an energy of you fighting against yourself. That's the mind working against you instead of working with you. And then here's 4 more swords from the 5 because of the fear of being out in the cold. But it's like, if we think about it, sometimes, I don't want to say it's one of those like anywhere is better than here type of energies, but if that's what it takes to get you out of the space that you found comfort in, then it may devolve into that. And sometimes I do talk about conflict that we face in our home environment or in the work environment as the universe letting us know that our time to grow beyond that space is coming or has come. It's like when you've gotten too big for the box, then there's tension because your body parts are pressing up against the box and you can't fully expand yourself, right? Apparently Jeff Goldblum's wife is a contortionist. And I saw that on YouTube yesterday. But it's like, even contortionists have their limits. And it ain't necessarily to always be in the contortionist state. Sometimes it might be a little bit necessary. Maybe sometimes we experience the desire to grow before we manifest that doorway. And so we got to contort a little bit. We got to bend a little bit. And while we're bending and contorting, we can see more and more and more reasons why it's important for us to not get stuck there or to stay there. But with the Nine of Swords, it's like, and that's the thing about the Nine of Swords, it's like you're not even Eight of Swords anymore. So like you realize it now. You know now what you didn't see before. But it's also the space of not really doing anything with that information. And just like crying over it. Instead of, I don't know, Magician manifesting a way out of it. And I think that was Unknown. Yeah. Now, Limitless is a movie that I wanted to watch a while ago but never have. There was this one dude, he's a Gemini. I had a crush on him in college, freshman year. I was joking when I was like literally the first dude I lock eyes with, I'm just gonna crush on so hard and he's gonna be the one for me. And so I met this Gemini with gorgeous blue eyes. And I could not talk to him literally for like 3 to 4 months. He lived on my floor. He was really cool, very approachable. One of the few people I felt a sort of bond of like friendship with. One of the few people who made me feel like I belonged in that space. And I could not talk to him. I just like yeah. And I had never in my life been like that. And I was like, I've liked people, I've crushed on people before. I don't understand what this is. But what was so weird is like after that, like the year after that, he moved out of the dorm. And but we would still see each other on campus sometimes. And I would literally know the days that I would see him on campus randomly. I would just feel it. I would just feel that I would see him that day, and then I would see him that day. There were some times when, even before he left, like I would hear somebody out in the hall because my door was like right next to the door to the wing, and so like the amount of traffic that came through that door was, you can imagine. There's like 400 or so dudes who live on that side of the wing. There's that door and then the door underneath, but this is on the second floor out of four. So if you're going in from the basement door, you probably live on the first floor. So you can assume like 300 people and their guests using this door to access their rooms more often than not. But sometimes like I would even know when he was like out there in the hallway. And he would like decorate the hall and stuff sometimes. And it was just so weird. Um, yeah, and he was a Gemini. Of course he's a Gemini. Now I say of course he's a Gemini. I'm like, I don't know what it is with me and Geminis. Why am I talking about him? Why did I bring him up? I don't know. I don't remember. Does anyone remember why I brought him up? No? What was I talking about him about? I don't know. But I ended up seeing him at the men's leadership series last year. He actually sat at the table that was next to mine. We were at like, they were long tables, so we were like literally right next to each other. Um, since then, they're like, I don't know. I'm like, at the moment, it was amazing because that was like the one person really who I felt like engaged with me, who looked for me and who looked forward to talking to me, even though I just hit him with all the time. And then there were a few other people who kind of sort of followed suit, and he's actually the reason why I became an RA. Because he helped me feel welcome in a space where I didn't really feel like I belonged. I was like, there were two other people from my high school that went to the college I went to. I was only an hour away from home, but still. And things were difficult. I was responsible for myself, which is fine, but like, my mom was the only thing that would sometimes force me to go to class. And I'm like, well, now that my mom's not there, I'm just going to skip class today. You can't do that. You can, but it doesn't work out. And so when I became an RA, I was like, you know what? I want to do for other freshmen and first years what he did for me. I want to be someone who can allow or make, I like allow more than make, that can allow someone to feel comfortable and allow someone to feel like they have a place here before they find it themselves, so that they don't quit before their time. And so I was an RA, and one of my residents just graduated, and he is one of the people I would kind of sort of go as far as to say that he is the person that I became an RA for. I remember the first time he came by my room, he was like, "Hey Pat, like I don't know if you saw me walk by like 5 times, but I was really nervous to come in here. I was really anxious. I was like, oh no, I wasn't even paying attention, but like, what's that?" And like, I still talk to him. We're really good friends. Him and some of the other guys on the floor, and I don't know. It was an experience that I appreciate so immensely. Being able to give back and being able to help someone find like they have a place in a space. Um, when because I knew how difficult it could be when you don't have one. Because I went through it for a few years. Um, and when I was younger, like whenever there was somebody new, I would always be the first person to like reach out to them because I didn't want anybody to feel like isolated and alone. And it was a lot easier for me to do that when I was a kid because I was a lot more extroverted, and I didn't necessarily do it as much when I got older, but that was an opportunity for me to do it. Um, and I'm really glad I did. I'm really, really glad I did. And then he became a mentor, and so he could do it for someone else. And so when that happened, and there were actually a few people who were on my floor that became RAs. And so when I saw this Gemini man, um, is that a movie? I think it is. When I saw this dude, the blue-eyed Gemini, I was like, hey, like you impacted me so much my freshman year. Like you're literally the reason why I became an RA. And I was able to do for someone else what you did for me, and now they are not now they want to do the same for somebody else. And so this is something that I kind of sort of put into motion that started for me with you. So thank you. And then I went to the Christmas show with my mom, and so he's kind of sort of the reason why I went to the first Christmas show. Honestly, he was like, "I'll be in the Christmas show," so I was like, "Well, I already love Christmas. I already love musicals and theater, and you're gonna be in it. Okay, so let's go." And so we went to the Christmas show, and my mom stayed with me that night because I had a single room. And we went back to the dorm, and we just happened to cross paths with him in the hallway. And he said hi, and I was like, "Hey." See, by this point, this was December, so by December, I was able to formulate a few sentences, thankfully. And my mom was like, "Oh yeah, you like him, don't you?" I was like, "What? Like all we did was say hi in the hallway in passing." She was like, "I can tell." And then she was like, "Because he was in the show." She was like, "Is that the reason why we went to the show?" I was like, "No." Um. Wow, I didn't even think about that. We saw him after the first Christmas show that we went to together. The first year I was a student on campus, and the last year I was a student on campus, last year, we saw him after the show again, and he was driving one of the little buggies that escorted people from the concert hall to the parking garage. And he was like, "Hey, y'all want to ride?" And we was like, "Yeah." And my mom was like, "Wait, don't you know him?" And at first I didn't recognize him. I was like, "Oh, snap, that's Blue Eyed Gemini Man." Um, it was just interesting that she still recognized him. So yeah, the first and the last Christmas show, I saw him after the show, and he's the first person I locked eyes with. There was this dude outside, but he was wearing sunglasses, so I don't count him. Anyway, I don't know why I went all the way there, but maybe it just speaks to these little magical, beautiful, synchronistic moments that happen and change us for the better that we don't even expect in spaces of adversity and isolation. And it's like even when we don't feel anything growing, even when we think that everything is dead, it's actually still growing. And it can grow amidst those sad, anxiety ridden, depressed, lost times. And it's about how even when we're in those situations, sometimes the light can still find us. And like I would sometimes like purposefully ignore him. Don't ask me why. But I guess I was more interested in that moment in my misery than I was in someone who would make me Limitless. That's why I started talking about it, because Limitless. Yeah, okay. I just remember. Ooh, that took a long time. Um, but I was more committed to my misery, and I don't know. I was just like, part of me. I don't know why I did it. I do know why, but it doesn't make sense. I was just more interested in being depressed than I wasn't feeling good in that moment, so I would just ignore him sometimes. But one day he was watching Limitless in his room, and his roommate was out, and he was like, "Oh, like I'm just starting the movie." I was like, "Oh, I've always wanted to see this movie." He was like, "Oh, like you can like stay in here and watch it with me if you want." I was like, "Oh, like maybe next time I'll go back to my room." And so that never happened. That's why, because it was Limitless. I was like, "Oh yeah, that's a movie I always wanted to watch," and he invited me to watch it with him, but I didn't. And then we have the Seven of Cups. I do love the Seven of Cups for limitless energy because again, it speaks of possibilities. Now, the thing is, when we're in this Five of Swords, Five of Pentacles, Nine of Swords state, there are some possibilities that it shifts our framework. Like I said, like I don't know why. Like I knew that he would make me feel better, and I knew that he would make me feel welcome, but sometimes I would just like completely ignore him. Like I don't know why I did that. It doesn't make sense. It makes sense from an emotional human perspective, but it doesn't make sense from a like getting to the space that I really want to be in, feeling what I actually want to feel perspective. And it does this thing where it shrouds our perception and our judgment. And it's like when we're manifesting in this space, it's almost like sometimes we don't even recognize it when it comes in. And sometimes the Seven of Cups can be like an energy of illusion and deceit and trickery, kinda. But also sometimes it is just us sitting in the space of limitless possibility where we can kind of sort of pick whichever route we want to go down, and not all routes are going to lead us ultimately to where we want to be. Some of them we might take out of a space of, not the greatest, from not the greatest sort of standpoint. But let's see what's all around this. First card, Six of Swords, sail away. Come sail with me, come sail away. Or whatever the song is, I don't know. And it's a mental card. So, I mean, here's the 5 and the 9. It's like sail away from all of it. And when you sail away from that, it clears up some of these foggy cups that don't actually exist. It's all about the space that you want to stay in and the energy that you want to feel in that moment. Excuse me, that'll influence which cup you pick. So if in that moment you're more intent on running from something, if you're more attached to things from the past that don't serve you, or if you're more attached to your worries or your fears or your anxiety, it makes you much, 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 much more likely to choose the option that doesn't actually benefit you because that's the space that you're choosing from. But sometimes you can decide to be brave and choose the correct option, go down the path, and then it's that Aksunade energy. It's the energy of the blinding dawn walking into a space that is unknown because the light has never shone there before. It was only fear and darkness there before. And so it's like the darkness or the light can be just as blinding as the darkness in a different way, but either way, it still leaves us unable to differentiate one thing in front of us from another thing in front of us. And so maybe we will feel like all of our options are the same, rather because we're in the light or because we're in the darkness or we're blinded by the light. It's like too much all at once. Like what happened at Sodom and Gomorrah when the whole city went down at the same time. It wasn't one tower or one building or two buildings. The entire city went down at the same time. And Lot knew. God went to Lot and said, take your wife and your kids and get out of town. Don't pack nothing. Don't leave. Just leave everything and go because it's about to go down. And when Lot got that message, he wasn't like, oh, God isn't going to destroy this town. I mean, but that was also Old Testament God, and Old Testament God destroyed some stuff. Now, he let his people know, hey, this is about to go down. I'm letting you know. You can tell other people, but be prepared. Nine times out of 10, other people didn't listen, right? Sarah turned back and she turned into a pillar of salt, and Lot had to leave her, unfortunately. But it does kind of sort of feel like that energy, right? Like she was leaving the city, but then she turned back. But anyway, it's to continue moving forward. Now we have temperance, which is the healing. I feel like when you move forward from these mindsets, it allows you to see that not everything is actually the same. Because you begin to see the things in you that you do differently now that leads to different outcomes in the situations. It leads you to seeing from your space when you're less subjected to being emotionally manipulated, basically, but not necessarily emotionally manipulated. When you can step outside of your emotions enough to make the decision in your best interest, then you can also see how your emotions lead you to making choices and doing things that you don't actually want to do. It's this energy, honestly, temperance of like sitting back and recognizing it. It is also alchemy and healing and stuff like that, but a little bit more practically, a little bit more mentally. When you take a step back, you can see the mess that you just walked out of. Next is the Seven of Swords. The Seven of Swords. Oh, I'm honestly feeling the energy of the Knight of Pentacles with this, but it is the Six of Swords and the Temperance. So Six of Swords and Temperance is a Knight of Pentacles energy. It's just different. Knight of Pentacles is more physical. This is more mental. More mentally based. So, Seven of Swords speaks to things that remain unseen. Oh, look! Seven of Swords, Seven of Cups. I mentioned the Seven of Swords when I pulled up the Seven of Cups, didn't I? I think I did. I'm pretty sure I did. This is interesting because it doesn't necessarily feel like something outside of you. Hold up, I'm looking at this dude. It almost feels like the energy of like a raffle, but it's a game where nobody loses. Everyone gets a prize, but you might not get the prize that you wanted. And it feels like there are three boxes. One of them is a deal or no deal. That's what it feels like. Deal or no deal. This is deal or no deal energy. Thank you. And that sums it up exactly. It feels like deal or no deal, where you have an envelope, you have curtains, you have a big box, you have a small box, and every box has a prize. Sometimes it's a zonk, but every box has a prize. Every curtain has a prize. Every envelope has a prize. Now, you can trick yourself into believing the bigger the box, the bigger the prize, and a curtain is bigger than the box, and all of that is bigger than the envelope. And so it's like it's the mindset that you bring to the table that makes you choose the choices that you choose, that leaves you in this state at the end of the day because you are fighting the changes that need to happen within you. Ultimately, at the end of the day, these are things that you're manifesting for yourself. But if you never take responsibility for it, then it would seem like the world is working against you. And it probably is. Again, because like on the show, like they don't want to necessarily give out every single prize. They want people to get some zonks because the more zonks, they can then just roll over the prizes, right? And they can keep the show going. But it's like everyone has the potential to win. But you need to look at your mindset. You need to look at what you, right? Like, what did they say? Sometimes the best things in life are free. The best things come in small packages, stuff like that. I said I was going to stop talking about her. But one year, my mom pulled the cruelest the cruelest. This was before Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon or whoever. But she would have won something. But 1 year, and I talk about this all the time. 1 year for Christmas, we had the biggest boxes under the Christmas tree, and we had just had a Christmas tree for like 2 or 3 years. When I was growing up, we didn't have a Christmas tree. We couldn't celebrate Halloween. There was a lot of stuff that we didn't do. And then as I got older and older and older, by the time I was basically a teenager, and my little brothers were still like preteen and kids, like we got a Christmas tree that we decorated. They got to trick or treat, and I was like, what? Um, the biggest boxes we've ever gotten, and we were so excited when they came out of her room. My mom is a Gemini moon. This is her Gemini moon. And her Saturn is in Gemini too. So on Christmas Day, we all wake up. She gets her cup of coffee. She's just sitting there like it's any other Christmas day. You know, we are beyond excited because these are the biggest boxes we've ever gotten. We open up our boxes. There's paper. There's more paper, like the tissue paper. More paper, more paper, more paper. At the bottom of the box, underneath all of the tissue paper, is like a 2-page essay that she typed up explaining to us why we didn't get Christmas that year. And that was literally our Christmas. These huge boxes that had a letter and a lot of wrapping paper explaining to us why we didn't deserve a Christmas that year. And oh wow, that's interesting because I just talked about this last night on Twitter. And so my Taurus moon, now my brother is a Taurus sun, and I think his moon, I just looked it up the other day. It might be in Aquarius or it might be in Pisces. I don't remember. Anyway, he's extremely, extremely, not superficial, but he is. He's like that stereotypical like Taurus likes nice things, like designer clothes, like that part of Taurus, like that's him to a T. And like whenever like it was somebody's birthday, and if it's not his birthday, he doesn't care. Right? He doesn't necessarily feel a need to be there, but when it's his birthday, everybody has to be there to sing for him. Venusian energy to the extreme. And he threw a fit. Me and my other brother, we both Pisces, we're just like, oh, okay, well, you know, if this is what she said, then. And so what I did was I did a game exchange or a toy exchange or whatever with my brothers. If there was something that I had that they wanted, especially that I didn't play with or use anymore, then I gave it to them. And then, you know, primarily the Piscean brother, the Taurus brother was too upset to give anybody anything. And, you know, that ain't necessarily his style too much. But he has grown and matured since then a little bit. So we exchanged games, and I just talked about this game last night because somebody talked about this game, and I was like, oh, well, I completely forgot about that game. I got that game from one of my brothers on an old game Christmas exchange that we did, and we did that so that we could still have Christmas that year. And I'm just like, you didn't have to put it in boxes that big. And then I talked to her recently, and she was like, well, y'all should have known that they were empty because they were too light. And I was like, we were kids. We ain't thinking about how light the box is. We just tearing off the paper. Tearing off the wrapping paper, pulling out the tissue paper for this little 2-page essay. I wish I kept it. But it ain't quite that extreme. But then, you know, a week later, we did get our Christmas gifts. So, and every time she was like, you're lucky that your dad was here because I was going to return them. But he said, no, he told me not to do it. He said, you know, it is Christmas. Go ahead and give it to him. So we believe that we didn't have Christmas for literally a full week. And then the real presents came out. I was like, okay. But I'm like, you didn't have to put them in boxes that big. You didn't have to just sit there and sip your coffee. Like, you really sat there with the same expression you have every Christmas. just waiting for us to get to the bottom of that box. But sometimes we do stuff like that to ourselves, right? And it's not always the bigger box. It's not always the flashier, fancier thing. Because sometimes the flashier it is on the outside, the more it's compensating for a lack of substance on the inside. Sometimes, not always. And then we have the sun card. Here comes the sun. Do, do, do. Here comes the sun. And I say, I love it. So on the top, we have the sun and the Six of Swords. Do note that they're going in opposite directions. On the right side, we have the Six of Swords and Temperance. On the left side is the sun and the Seven of Swords. On the bottom is Temperance and the Seven of Swords. But the sun card, I feel like it's that energy of how everything can work out for our betterment in the end, even when we don't see that it can. Also, we have the 5, the 6, the 7, and the 9 of Swords, but the 8 of Swords is missing. So I'm going to go see what's around the 8 of Swords. And I think I just saw the 8 of Swords, didn't I? At the cut or something? Because some card, the Wheel of the Year was there, and then I was like, oh, now it's the 8 of Swords or something like that. I don't know. We'll see. What's around the 8 of Swords? Because the 8 of Swords would be the thing that we're not seeing in this situation. Eight of Wands. Nope, that's the Two of Swords. Sorry. Well, we'll leave that. Two of Swords, and then the Lover's right there. Two of Swords and the Eight of Wands. That's like as soon as you make your mind up, as soon as you make that decision, it'll take off. Okay, yeah. So here's this energy again. It's the Tower, the Eight of Swords, and the Page of Pentacles. I feel like this is a lack of faith. I don't want to say a lack of faith or a lack of trust. It's either a lack of trust or an unwillingness to let go of certain things to allow something brand new to begin. Right? The World card is at the bottom. The cycle is already complete. The cycle is already complete. If you choose to hit rewind or a replay and go back to the beginning of the cycle, that's your choice. But you could choose to allow the cycle to be complete and to completely take off and get that brand new Page of Pentacles beginning. And I feel like sometimes we think of starting all over. And it reminds me of a quote, and I'll say it right now because I'll forget it. It was a quote that I found a while ago that said that we don't start all over. We start with experience. We start with knowledge and we start with wisdom. So it's not starting all over. But there is this energy of like, if you allow that reset, it has the capability to actually take off a lot quicker than you think. We're living in this quickening energy. Everything is quickening. The darkness and the light. It's all quickening. Because it's so important for things to be restructured and rebuilt right now. So the fall of it, the purification of it is supported, but also the restructuring and the building and the setting of new foundation is supported as well. As long as it aligns, right? That was that Mars square Saturn when Mars went retrograde. As long as it benefits us, as long as it sets a sturdy, healthy foundation, it's blessed. But if it does anything other than that, expect delays, expect resistance, and it's not that it's going to be easy to build, but it is supported right now. So let's get one more of these and then I'll close this off. I like just pulling cards sometimes. I like just talking. Oneness at the time. That was a really cool dream though. Man, and then I woke up like, wow, his family is like crazy about me. Just imagining like not only partnership, but getting a new family as well. Not that there's anything wrong with my old family, but just expanding. Right? And I do a lot for a lot of people. It's just kind of sort of within me. And I was raised actually by my grandmother. And I've talked about how And I was thinking about this earlier today too, about how my mother and my grandmother are stewards, are stewardesses, and how I was kind of sort of raised along the same sort of vein. And so when I was with my grandma, or even when I'm with my mom, and let's say that there's somebody shorter in the store and they can't reach something, or if there's something heavy, they'll be like, "Hey, Patrick, go and help that person with this. Go and help with this. Go and help with that." And I was also raised to not accept a lot of times anything in return. And so, because I was raised like that, it took this natural giving tendency that I already have, but it elevated it to the point of not seeking or requiring or demanding anything in return. It put me in a space to be of service to other people when I know that I can help. And I don't always have to be asked to help. One day, I was walking to class, and it was early in the morning. Hey, just got news. Which means I really need to finish this work. There was like, as long as Patrick's work is done, then he can participate in the program. Thank you. I need to go in there and create my profile. Also, another thing has been interesting. So I've had these two little like thoughts running in my mind, right? So I'm not prepared to go anywhere. I have a lot of laundry to do. And I've been thinking like I don't know when I'm gonna get the call or the okay to like head out. So I could have my laundry done just in case. Just in case. I could already have my laundry done. But I've also been feeling this like I don't know if now is the right time to go and try to visit nobody. And something about the other person's energy to me has just felt off. And I don't want to force anything, especially after some lessons I learned recently, to allow people the time that they need. And to sometimes it's very human for us to get overexcited and to enter spaces that we're not yet prepared for. And it's no one's fault when that happens, and it's always something to teach us. There's always something that we have to learn, even if we just need to see that we need more time or more preparation needs to be done. And so there was a part, because it has been a long time, that is like really eager to reconnect. But at the same time, there's so much happening in the world right now that it's just like now is not the time for this. If the energy was different, then sure. And so I wake up to that phone call, and there's like, "You ain't even ready, are you? You're not even prepared." I was like, "No," because I thought I would get a little bit heads up, like we kind of sort of discussed, but there's no heads up. There's just like, "Oh, hey, yeah, so I'm ready right now. Like, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, I'm not prepared." There was a part of me that knew that I should prepare, and maybe this is another thing, because if I had prepared, I think I would have gotten more swept up in that moment, and I'd be heading into something that I feel like is not for me to be heading into right now. And so, although something did tell me to be prepared, something also told me that the time is not right now. But if I had been prepared, I probably would not have listened to the part of me that says that the time is not right now. And so, there's this interesting. It's that Queen of Cups versus High Priestess energy. And it's the relationship that I've always had with the divine. I've always pretty much had a relationship with the divine. I was like, one of my uncles had his own church, and like I've always experienced it as religion in my family, but now that I'm older, I can actually recognize it as a spirituality that goes beyond the textbook religion. And I've always been raised to like listen to my intuition. But I would hear it as like the voice of spirit. That's the voice of spirit telling you not to do this. Like, should have listened to the voice of spirit. And yeah, I don't know. It's like there's a lot of stuff that I don't know. And I've low key I've been feeling like Edward from Twilight. And I saw the first Twilight movie and a bit of one of the other ones because my neighbor's sister really loved it. And there was this point in high school where we actually became really good friends, and so sometimes I would just go to hang out with her. Um, but how like Bella was the only person whose mind he couldn't read. I feel like I usually know or am exposed to a fair amount of stuff to know what feels like it's going to be my next step in life. And like to know what feels right. But right now it's like there are these certain areas of my life where it's all hope and faith and belief. And sometimes it's more hope than faith. Sometimes it's more belief than faith. Sometimes it's more faith than either. Because again, it's like I don't know. And I feel like I'm not allowed to know. Because part of this, it's a space of choice for me. And what it's actually doing is it is teaching me to, as my sensitivities are increasing, to begin to trust them, and how the information isn't necessarily going to continue to come in the same channels that it always does. Usually it comes to me as just knowing. Like, I know that this is what I'm supposed to do. I know that this is what I'm supposed to do. I know that I'm supposed to go there, and I know that I'm not supposed to do that. I just know it. I don't know why I know it. I just know it. There are some things that I just know. But it's like the knowing is like it's backing down a little bit, and I'm learning to listen and see how everything is a piece to something moving forward. But again, that's how my brain is wired. Call it my Mercury in Pisces. I'm wired to learn through and see these connections between things that aren't necessarily there on the surface. But when you can draw the parallels under the water, it creates this bridge that when it comes to the surface, when the situation happens, it's like I already have these things connected to it. So even though it is an unknown space for me, I can use some of the things that I do know to have a decent idea of what is happening. And then breakthrough is at the bottom of the deck. And so this is just one of those things that I know it's not right. It doesn't matter how much I want to go. I just know that it's not right. And that experience on the phone today solidified that for me 100%. Because I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not. Nah, no. Forgiveness is at the bottom of the deck. It's not there anymore. Now empowerment is there. Ooh, okay. So let's get one final. Is that transformation? Empowerment and transformation. Let's get one final card, please, to wrap this up. How long have I been live? An hour and a half? I was going to guess an hour. Goodness. Well, I'm not going live on the Legacy channel today, so I can put a little bit more time over here. Or at least I'm not planning on it. Oh! We've already seen you. The Promise. Okay. Well, what do I do with this? Transformation in the Promise. With the third eye portal at the bottom of the deck. Transformation, the Promise, the third eye portal. We already saw the Promise, so I'm not gonna do that one again. But then here's attachment with the Promise. And what did it say? Clinking is suspicious when the internal fire burns brighter. Okay, let's get one final card, please. Preferably one that we haven't seen, but hey, I can do some confirmation. That promise is on its way to be fulfilled for you, my dude. Okay, thank you. I will take that. Because I know that I'm worthy. Dreamscape. Oh, wait. The Promise in Dreamscape. I had a dream. Hey, maybe I'll reach out to that dude. With the crown portal right here. See, I was going to send him a message. But then I wasn't. But I'm going to actually do that real quick. I'm like, hey, dude, what's up? And, like, I just found out that he's working a job that I don't know how I would have felt about before all of this transformation happened in, like, June, July. I'm like, whoa. I'm just like, what a time to be in that field of work. And you can probably infer what that field of work is from those context clues that I've provided. I'm just like, ooh. Maybe that's why he's gotten a little bit buffer. Potentially. Maybe not. Okay. I want like 3 cards for Dreamscape, please. I'm gonna do that other shuffle that I'm really bad at, but it gets the cards to fly out if y'all don't cooperate. Alright. Ooh, 3 cards. Ooh, the Moon, the Hierophant. Oh, I actually love this though. The Moon and the Hierophant for Dreamscape coming out after the Promise. Oh, I really love that. I didn't know if something else flipped over in here, so let's just do a quick check and see. Oh, excuse me. Nope, that's it. Bottom of the deck is, interestingly enough, the King of Cups. Wow, so we have Dreamscape coming out after The Promise. We have the Moon and the Hierophant for Dreamscape that came out after The Promise with the King of Cups and the Crown Portal at the bottom of the deck. I am going to send this message real quick. Give me 1 second. I remember I accidentally went live on Facebook one day publicly. I meant to go live in private or do one of those custom lives and just invite my mom to it. But this dude was one of the first people who popped up. I was like, oh my gosh, what? This is public? That was a few years ago. I don't even know if. Oh, wow. Wow. So this is after I had my darkest night. December 9th, 2018. Hey, bro, if you ever want to talk, please hit me up anytime. Seriously. And then he gave me his number. We got to be there for each other. And I said, thanks for reaching out. And he said, of course, bro, I love you, man. Which doesn't mean anything. But I forgot all about that. And I never texted him. I don't even think I have his number in my phone. Even though he gave it to me. And it was interesting. So I came out in high school. And he's one of the people that I went to school or I went to church with. And so I came out to people who I didn't go to church with. But in high school, the people who I didn't go to church with ended up finding out because it's high school. And there was one day I passed by him in the hall, and I think maybe I was a little bit hyper defensive, maybe not. But I think he said something to me, and it rubbed me the wrong way. And then later I was like, hey, like I know that like I just came out and everything, and if it's like too weird for you to handle, like we don't have to be friends, we ain't gotta talk, we ain't gotta do whatever. And he was like, oh no, like it ain't like that. I was like, oh okay, cool. Wow. Wow. Who is this little Aries? I'm ready to let Aries be redeemed, low key. My Venus is in Aries, so you know. Maybe that's why I've only been attracted to, or I've only had experiences with fire signs. Oh, maybe not. Maybe it's just a random coincidence. One Aries, one Leo, one Sag. All sun signs, of course, because I didn't know anything else. Well, now I know that the Sagittarius has a bunch of Capricorn. He's like all Sagittarius and Capricorn. I'm like, oh, for no reason. I got too much water for all of that earthy Sagittarian energy, especially Capricorn Earth. It ain't even like Taurus Earth. Nah. Hmm. One time I had a dream about another one of my friends, and in my dream he was a DJ. And I reached out to him. He was like, "Oh, that's so weird. I've been like actually looking into being a DJ." I was like, "Oh wow, I didn't know that." And I did go to bed last night. I have been in this space honestly where I'm like, don't keep showing me people in my dreams who I can't do anything for. I don't want to know what people are going through if I can't do anything for them, and if they're not like I don't want to know. I don't want to know right now. So quit giving me these dreams where somebody else is beat up, somebody else is crying, somebody else is sad, somebody going through this, somebody going through that. Like stop. Just stop. I'm over it. And then I saw him in a helicopter. I was like, oh, okay, cute work. Okay. So, Dreamscape is number 10. Ooh, that's the number of the Wheel of Fortune. 10 is the number of the Sun. We just saw the Sun card up here. It's a 1910. Let's see. Let's see what Dreamscape is about. Ooh, excuse me. Dreamscape is dream work, subconscious, imagination, and it's connected with the persimmon color ray. Let's hold it this way so I can see. The celestial interpretation reads: Dreamscape resonates to the unconscious and hidden desires in dreams. These frequencies bridge pathways from the subconscious into the conscious awareness that assists in bringing life to dreams, both in the waking and sleeping states. As deeply entrenched patterns are surfaced. Hold up, wait, I gotta. Here we go. As deeply entrenched patterns are surfaced for examination, understood, released, and transmuted, this flowing ray allows for revelations and new ideas to burst forth with a vibrancy and depth. The imagination is unleashed and creativity flows vividly. The oracle interpretation is: pay attention to your dreams as you are receiving profound guidance from them. Your subconscious is trying to bring something important to your attention. It's also a good time to expand your creativity and allow your imagination to roam free. Go deep within the realms of yourself, and you'll be amazed at what clarity you'll discover there. Companion crystals are shaman stone and green opal. Companion essential oil is jasmine. Okay. So for the space of dream work is the moon. The moon with dream work, interesting. I mean, she's holding a torch in this, so maybe we are in a space of gaining some kind of awareness and insight through the space of our dreams. Because it's like this heightened state of connectivity that doesn't have any of the limitations of reality and or time or space, right? You can dream that you're with someone that you've never even seen, that you don't even know, who lives halfway around the world and that lived like 15 centuries ago, right? But in the space of dreams, you can be right there. Now, not every dream is necessarily prophetic. Not every dream is necessarily significant. Not every dream is not a product of our conscious and subconscious mind trying to resolve things that happen, right? There are different kinds of dreams. At least I have different kinds of dreams. And there are some times where I know I can tell the difference between the dreams. Sometimes I just have random dreams because it's a random dream. But with the card of dream work, it's like something in our dreams may be a little bit more significant than we know. If we don't remember it, then that significance may be lost to us consciously, but subconsciously it's still there. And I think I woke up, or I went to bed thinking about how, like, I remember a fair amount of my dreams. And it's like some of these dreams come to me almost like memories, and it's so weird. But, like, I know that it was a dream, so it's not a memory. And when things that happen in real life, I know it's a memory and not a dream. But there are certain things from, like, way back in the past, or certain things sometimes where I'm just like, Did that actually happen? Like, was that a dream or was that a memory? Have y'all ever felt like that? Or maybe is that like a little too Pisces? But it's like, wait, is that a memory or is that a dream? Like, did that actually happen or did I just dream about that? And it's interesting because like I almost have this subconscious memory that I access in dreams that I don't have in the conscious waking world. Like, I'll go to sleep and remember dreams in my dreams that I don't remember having outside of my dreams. But in my dreams, it's a dream that I remember dreaming. So now I just be like extra confused. Like, so did I actually have that dream? Or is that like a dream that I dreamed within a dream? Or is that just like information that came to me in a dream through the space of a dream because I didn't actually have this dream? I don't know. It gets weird. It's a moon energy, okay? Nobody knows. And then in the space of the subconscious, we have the Hierophant, which I love because in dream work, it's like you could be doing things in there, getting these revelations, growing, doing all kinds of stuff that you may not necessarily see the significance of. But with the Hierophant coming out in the space of subconscious, it's like this is the conscious attempting to work with the subconscious. This is the spiritual attempting to inform your conscious mind, or the spiritual trying to inform your mental of some things, maybe giving you an opportunity to work through some things emotionally. Mercury is like 24 degrees Libra right now, and so it's going to be entering its pre-shadow here fairly soon. And then it's going to retrograde in Scorpio in a few weeks, and it's actually going to come all the way back to the 25th degree of Libra. So we are entering the Mercury retrograde period. And Scorpio is a subconscious influence. And so it's going to start in Scorpio, but it's going to end in Libra. So that is and can be a dream space, but it's also related to like partnerships and balance and justice and fairness in our waking lives, which is interesting because I feel like our relationships probably has been one of the things that is the most key or has been highlighted the most this year. Um, right? It's like, well, who were you on Zoom calls with? Who have you been keeping up with in quarantine? Who are you living with, and how do you actually feel about them? What are the things that you're not allowing yourself to experience about these people? What are some of the things that you're keeping bottled up? What are some of the things that you're not saying? What do you want to progress further? What do you actually want to invest in, and what do you want to pull your investment out of? We may be getting the opportunities in the dream space here fairly soon to explore some of that. But again, like, it's almost like this field to test the water before we actually enter that situation. And in some ways, it's like a dream only impacts your reality because only you had that dream. And so, if it's illuminating something that you need to say, even though some people do say that they connect in the dream space, it's like how much weight do we actually give conversation in the dream space? And how much weight should we give conversation in the dream space? Because I have been in this spot, in this point of like, if nothing is happening in the 3D physical world, then it doesn't matter what's happening in dreams. Because that's just a dream. If it's unsaid, it's unsaid. I can't do anything with that. There's this need to still communicate. And maybe there are, and again, it kind of sort of feels like there could be things that we're not allowing ourselves to see. There's the silver key and the gold key, the key of the moon and the key of the sun. Again, it's the subconscious working with the conscious. It could be the id and the ego. But I think it is, maybe it's starting or maybe it's shifting into the spot of balance. And it may not necessarily be the specific face that we see in a dream. It may just be highlighting and illuminating things that we want in life, right? Sometimes it's like we find a like frequency in real life to the one that we experienced in the dream, right? And then we have death. Ooh, we got three major arcana cards, but that's transformation, and transformation is coming with imagination. So it's also, I really like that. I feel like this is gonna help some of us out of that Eight of Swords type of energy and the Nine of Swords energy. Let's see, it's not. I think it's gonna help us out of the Eight of Swords energy, but it's going to amplify the Nine of Swords energy, because it's going to put us in a space to be able to explore realms that we don't consciously give ourselves permission to. But all that that's going to do potentially is further add more um, disturbance to the calmness of our thought, because it's like it might reduce our ability to escape. If we're escaping from some things and we try to dream something else and then it follows us in our dreams, or if it's something that we're not acting on, again, like, it doesn't matter. It does matter what happens in the dreams, but it also matters what you do in real life with that information. And if there's no commitment to seeing your dreams fulfilled, and what was that? Was that yesterday? Or maybe that's just what I just read. Something about a commitment to seeing your dreams made real. Then it's like it's never going to come into reality. And the fact that you're dreaming about it but not doing anything to make it happen in reality, or that you're dreaming about it and it's not happening in reality, is going to further, it's going to amplify that Nine of Swords energy. The moon, the Hierophant, and transformation. It could also be the space of, well, I feel like it's the same. It's like either there are some things that we're probably going to want to gravitate closer towards, and other things that we're going to want to put some distance in. But I think ultimately, at the end of the day, this is going to be a really good opportunity to highlight, eliminate, elucidate. I think elucidate is the word that I want. Let's ask Siri. Hey Siri, define elucidate.
Elucidate means make something clear, explain.
Why did he say it like that? Make something clear, explain. Yeah, elucidate. It'll elucidate it for us. And then here's the moon card with elucidation. But we still got to do something with that. So, gonna get a final card. Gonna put these away. The King of Cups is sitting at the bottom of the deck. Is that my little brother? That is my little brother. There's the Taurus brother that I was talking about. That's the one I was talking about. What is he doing here? No troublemaker. Our relationship is so. Oh, then there's the World card. It's gonna help us. It has the potential to help us, but if we don't allow it to, I think it's just gonna increase our anxiety. And the Six of Pentacles. Okay, all right, calm down. And the Nine of Wands with that Six of Pentacles. I'm gonna get one of these first. What was that? Exiled? Oh, that is exiled. I don't know what that's about, but somebody does. And now Breakthrough is at the bottom of the deck with the Crown Portal. Alright. Let's finish this. I think there's only been like one split second in my life where I ever like looked at that man like. But then I was like, nah. But now I'm like, maybe. Like Kombucha Girl. Well, I don't know. It was just. Okay. It was just nice to just like have somebody there to help me, and I didn't even have to ask for it. They could just tell that I needed it, or they felt that I needed it, and they arrived, and not only did they help me, but they helped the people who I was responsible for in that dream. And then like again, waking up and like my interaction and my relationship with his family, it's just like that's what I'm worthy and deserving of. And that's what I'm aligning myself to. Because I deserve it. And it ain't gotta be him, right? Like I said, it's not always the face. So Trust came out and Illumination came out. And I was just talking about illumination and elucidation and stuff like that, but no. Trust that the situation will come to the light, that there will be clarity and stuff. I'm actually going to read both of these. Trust is 42 and Illumination is 23. Excuse me. 42 and 23 is that's a 6 and a 5, which should be an 11. 75, that's a 12. Hold up, wait. 85. No. Yeah, 85. Wait, hold up. 40 plus 20 is 60. 65. Okay. Gosh, doing my math was just so bad. That's a 65, 11. 6 and 5, 65. Okay. Let's get into a book, shall we? First, we'll read Trust, number 42. It was a card that came out upright. My little brother is here, y'all. My little brother. So, Trust is overcoming doubt, insecurities, and patience. It's connected with the sapphire mint color rate. Trust resonates to the deep trust in spirit and the soul. When trials befall, one must trust beyond a shadow of a doubt that there is a purpose in all situations. This reassuring ray grounds the soul to its roots and reinforces an anchored belief and confidence in the Creator's timing. What did I say closer to the beginning, probably like an hour and a half ago, about the mental, spiritual, and emotional things that we're rooted in right now? Here it is. Here it is, illuminated for you. If you don't take my word for it, if you believe the cards, but you believe me, then there you go. Rest assured that support exists at all times, and there is an omnipresent and cooperative power surrounding you. The oracle interpretation is trust in the unknown, which was that boldness, unknown, and limitless exploration. Yeah. Trust in the unknown no matter what your situation may bring. You must know with conviction that if you jump, there will be a safety net to catch your fall. However, the catch is the net may not always appear until after you decide to take the leap. Learn to cultivate a trust relationship within yourself and also with spirit, so you'll know when the timing feels right. Trust in your intuitive decisions and stop doubting yourself. The companion crystals are tree agate and sapphire, with blue cypress being the companion essential oil. Next, we go to number 23. I've been seeing the number 23 a lot lately. Not like a lot, but a fair amount for how I see numbers. So, illumination is expression, positivity, and joy, and inspiration. It's connected with the green-blue color ray. Illumination resonates to expanding and illuminating the essence of soul light. This sacred ray inspires all beings to always shine luminously from the heart. It's a reminder of the heart's capacity for full expression and to honor this origin of brilliance that arises deep within the soul. This radiant ray continually pulses regenerating waves of bliss directly into the heart space for ultimate replenishment. The oracle interpretation says, lift yourself to a higher frequency of joy. You need to express this more fully. Allow the inspiration of nature, the elemental realms, and love to carry you forth to your next endeavors. It is not a time to be looking at your situation from a head space, but rather the heart space of joy, laughter, and fun. Be positive and know that the light you seek is already inside of you. Your light wants to shine and be allowed complete freedom of expression. Green aventurine and dolomite are the crystals here, with Idaho balsam fir being Idaho balsam fir being the companion essential oil. At the bottom of the deck is Ice Queen number 22. I love her. Ooh, I gotta read Ice Queen. I wasn't gonna read it, but it's Ice Queen, so I gotta read it. These are all. I love this. I love how all of this is coming together. And I think that like Ice Queen is really gonna complement both of these very well. Hold up. Ice Queen. Ice Queen is introspection, self-analysis, and fortitude, connected with the silver-white color ray. Ice Queen resonates to personal power and liberation from the shadow self. This revealing ray ignites strength and fortitude, calling forth a presence from the depths of the soul to penetrate through the most difficult of challenges and trials. Fusing a bridge between the powers of nature, soul light power, and the darkness that is a part of the light itself, a new butterfly is born as it sheds its old self and steps into the newness and light of its own being. Go into a space of deep inner reflection, for it is a time of going within, and is required in order to face the shadow self. Perhaps you need to retreat and do some self-growth exploration. If you feel lost or confused about your situation, just go within. It takes strength and courage to reveal the truth, and sometimes the shadows attempt to hide light from you. Honor both the light and dark, but choose light. Snow quartz and phantom quartz are the companion crystals, with wintergreen being the companion essential oil, and I love that because here is the trust and the truth. We saw the strength card earlier today when it came to the promise, didn't we? It was the star, the moon, and strength. The star, the moon, and strength. The star, the moon, and strength. The star, the moon. Yeah, this is why I love this channel. Not that there's anything against the other one. It is a legacy channel that did come before. And the only reason why I made this channel is because I wanted to change my name to the Hierophant. And since my legacy channel, I got that before the YouTube merger, or the YouTube Google merger. So I can't change the name on that channel. And I was like, oh, well, I'll just make a new one. And I have like 5 emails from like high school when I was applying for scholarships, and I kept forgetting my email address. I would log into like Fastweb, and I was like, wait, I thought I already made an account, but I just created a new email. And I think before the YouTube Google merger, I had videos on this channel that I recorded when I went to Thanksgiving. My mom got a flip camera, and I was obsessed. So I was just like recording everything. But one of my cousins is a teacher, so she was like, you can't just have that up there because this is like her private life. So I privated everything. And I wanted to go back and watch some of it. So I was scrolling down my subscriptions. And then I found this channel. I found the name, which gave me the name for the email address that I completely forgot about. But when I created the channel, it's like all the old videos are gone. So I was like, oh, okay. Oh, well. Now let's see what's up. Oh, okay. We got 2 cards. The 2 of Pentacles is at the bottom of the deck. The 7 of Swords is crossing the 2 of Swords. This is telling me that our attachment to the past is influencing our decisions too much, and it's keeping us stuck in these in-between spaces where we can't go forward or back. And what happens to the bridge when the earth shifts apart? I don't know. You fall into the water or into an in-between space. It's like, again, it's that mentality of like the world is out to get you, nothing ever works out. And so it keeps you from pursuing and going after the things that actually benefit you. And it keeps you juggling things that you know you should take. And like there's a difference between that energy and your intuition saying that something isn't right. That's probably your fear, your worry, and your anxiety. And it's not always, but when the Seven of Swords is crossing it, it's like you don't even allow yourself the opportunity to see the truth because you're looking for the bad. And when you look for the bad, you'll see it regardless of if it's there or not. It's the ability of the mind to influence reality by changing the way that we perceive of situations. So I don't want to leave it like that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. It is what it is. Be mindful of this. You don't have to fall into the trap. Sometimes we're made aware of it so we can't avoid it, and we can choose something different. We can choose something better. So, in the space of the past is the Four of Wands, and the space of the future is the Ten of Wands. We're currently sitting at the Two of Swords with the Seven of Swords being our blockage. It looks like like I talked about with when the Seven of Cups came out, it's like we go partially down these pathways and then we turn around. Looks like things were headed in a great direction, but the weight of the past was too much. And so in the future, it's more of this burden. And like I said, it's eventually going to reach the point where we know that we are our only limitation. And it's easier to work through it than it is to have to work through it after feeling the hurt and self-betrayal and self-sabotage of letting something go that was truly meant for you. And it's like in the past, you could see that whatever this was, it was truly meant for you. But because you allowed a different version of the past, this isn't necessarily your past. This Seven of Swords is your past because you allowed your past to influence your decision-making in the present moment to the point of self-sabotage and to the point of clouding your own vision. Something that you once realized as Four of Wands is now leaving you in the Ten of Wands state. And I think it's going to be Ten of Wands in the future because you know that that Four of Wands potential is still there, but you're also holding all of this stuff from the past. It's being overburdened. You have to choose what you carry. You choose what you throw into the fire, and whatever you throw into the fire will affect the fire, right? There are certain metals, if you throw it into the fire, it changes the color, right? If you throw something moldy into the fire, it may produce a smell. The root is the Queen of Wands. This is about you being in your power. And we just saw the Queen of Wands energy in reverse with the Nine of Swords, with the Nine of Swords being you basically being trapped in your shadow self. Everything is happening for you to resolve your shadow and for you to also claim what is rightfully yours instead of going after the options that were sort of forced upon you in the past. And with the World card and the Six of Pentacles being in reverse, crowning this, it's like if you don't put anything into it, you're not going to get anything out of it. Bottom of the deck is the Three of Pentacles. Whatever energy you put into the world, into the situation, is going to be what's reciprocated to you. And we see that here. And it looks like there are cycles from the past that you're stopping from closing. And because you're stopping these old cycles, it's keeping you from receiving what it is that you actually want because you're not putting the energy of what you want into the situation. And it's a partnership. If you don't show up, you don't get credit. Four of Pentacles out the cut. You can't be overly guarded and protected to the point where you don't allow yourself to grow. How are you going to grow out of that? How are we going to grow out of those spaces if we never allow ourselves the opportunity? And you can dream these fantastic dreams all day long, but as long as your dreams remain dreams, they will probably haunt you. And it's like the potential future, your dreams, the sun is pulling you forward, but the devil and the moon and the Seven of Swords is holding you back. fear of a repeat situation where you're not even in a space to repeat it. I just want one card. But ain't all that. I mean, it is what it is. We at this point where whatever needs to happen needs to happen. There's death, which is the transformation. Bottom of the deck is the Three of Wands. It's like you're part way there. You got as far as you can go, hanging on to the baggage from your past. You've gone as far as you can go. You're reaching the point where you got to begin to do something different if you want to go any further. We have the Seven of Swords and the Two of Swords came out behind death. Goodness. It's like it's time to let the past go, and it's time to allow yourself. Again, with the dreamscape, it's like in your dreams you can see different potentialities. It's almost like you can see the truth in your dreams more than you can see it in real life, because in your dreams your conscious mind has less control and your subconscious knowing has more control. But you gotta there's some stuff that you gotta let go if you want to be transformed. You can't hold on to the past and think that you'll ever be free of it. It doesn't work that way. It's a very like PTSD type of energy, and it is extremely valid. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how valid it is. How bad do you want to be happy? How bad do you want something new? How bad do you want to put all of that behind you? And do you want it bad enough to begin to trust and align in ways that will provide you with something different? Or is that a little bit too much to ask? Somebody might say that's a lot of it too much to ask. And it's like we're not going to get anything significant in life if we don't risk being hurt, if we don't risk failure, if we don't risk setbacks. There's going to be like no progress, because progress, evolution, growth by definition requires us to enter these spaces of the unknown and to behave in ways that we haven't before. If you go into a brand new space and you do the same thing, that's the definition of insanity. You doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting something different. And it eventually reaches the point where it's not the people, it's you. Because you can't accept that not everyone is the same. And just because that was your experience in the past doesn't mean that that's always going to be your experience. And I feel like the sad part is a lot of us know that we're capable of more, and we're worthy of more, and we deserve more, but not quite enough of us actually align to the more that we deserve. We don't allow the world to give us more, because every time it attempts to, we say that it's the same. So be careful of how your past continues to influence the decisions you make and keeps you in these spaces of indecisiveness and keeps you overburdened when you could free yourself. So that's all I got. This was fun. I hope y'all have a good whatever whenever y'all see this, and I hope y'all are acting in alignment to make the good better, the better great, the great fantastic, the fantastic wonderful, the wonderful amazing, and the amazing miraculous. Because for those who believe and align to miracles, miraculous things are likely to happen. Much more likely to happen, in fact. But maybe not. I don't know. It's just, my perspective. Feel free to believe or do whatever you want to do, because it's your life and you have the freedom to choose. You can choose something new, or you can choose to keep manifesting the old stuff that you don't even want anymore. It's your choice.